Hoping you're doing well. This is another episode at Legally Right. My name is Purity Nabukaki.
And mine is Beatrice Mohende. Today we have a special guest, a campus mate, and also an advocate of many years. He's a constitutional lawyer. He's also a family law expert and an election expert. Today we'll be strictly speaking about election matters.
Thank you so much. My name is Charles Mwangi Ndegwa. As you've heard, I practice law in the name and style of Ndegwa and Ndegwa Associates. Our offices are in Canberra Road, Woodland Business Park. And we have dealt so much in respect to constitutional law, family law, election petitions, and the whole process beginning from the party primaries. And it's a pleasure to be here to speak to the viewers in regard to the election process. Thank you for having me.
Now, Wakili, karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome to Legally Right. Now, as she has said, we will be speaking about elections matters. We will be going deeper. And as you've known, this is the year of 2022 where all of us, our eyes, we are waiting for August 9th. Of course, August 9th ndio wakati ambapo tunaenda kufanya uchaguzi. Kumbuka sisi sote tuko pale ndani na our politicians are campaigning for themselves. And as you know, here in Kenya, uchaguzi kidogo imekuwa na kizungumkuti kidogo. Every now and then, kuna rabsha hapa na pale. But today we are here to remind our Kenyans, to remind the citizens the importance of voting or the elections. So we will just dive deep and we'll start by Wakili. You can tell us, maybe the citizens have forgotten. When you go out there, you will hear maybe someone saying, oh, nipige kwa nini kura, kutakuwa na machafuko, ama nipige kwa nini, kwa sababu zitaibiwa. Remind us the importance of voting.
It's very pertinent for every citizen of this country to ensure that come the 9th of August 2022, you cast your vote. Reason being, the Constitution gives the voter or a citizen the supreme power. Article 1 of the Constitution says that supreme power or sovereign power belongs to the people. That means everything that is done or ought to be done under this constitutional dispensation is done by the Kenyan person, is done by the citizen. What happens is that Article 1 further says that this power is exercised by citizens individually or through a delegated process. The delegated process is these institutions of government that we vote in or we elect on the election day. When you go to vote for the president or the member of parliament or the member of the county assembly, you are exercising your right to bequeath that person the right to represent you in whatever representation capacity. Equally, when you talk about the judiciary, they also exercise the power of judicial actions through the representation. They are exercising the people's power. Simply put, that's the reason why we ensure that we must cast our votes so that we exercise our sovereign power.
All right, Mr. Ndegwa. Many people right now have not taken votes. Is it too late?
Well, I think it's quite late in the day because the IEBC, the body that is responsible for conducting elections in this country, has already shut that door. Fortunately, is that most of them had actually taken out their voters card from the 6th of January to 6th of February. So that's why there was a lot of campaign from all quarters, the political divide, the civil society, that people to come out to ensure they have registered themselves as a voter. So that come the 9th of August, you must exercise your right to cast a vote in order to elect the person you think really has that capacity to represent you in those capacities of representation.
So, Wakili, just in summary, how are elections conducted here in Kenya?
Elections are conducted in two ways. There is the manual identification of voters, register, and voting is also manually conducted. But when it comes to transmission of the election the results, is done through electronically. That means that you'll be identified using the KIMS. Your data will be identified using the KIMS kit. Equally, it will be counter-checked with the manual register. You'll be given 6 ballot papers, the president's ballot paper, the governor's ballot paper, senator, member of parliament, member of the county assembly, and the county member women rep. When you cast each vote, at the end of the day, what is going to happen thereafter is that the voter tallying will take place at each polling station. At each polling station, there is a tallying process. And each constituency becomes the tallying station for that constituency, for the presidency's elections, presidency's votes. From there, the president votes from the main polling station in the constituency is then transmitted to the national level for purposes of now tallying the total votes for the presidency.
So are there, I believe in every place that you go, there are laws that govern something.
Correct.
So are there any laws that govern the electoral process?
A litany of them. a litany of laws. From the beginning, we have the Constitution, which is a supreme law. It enables all other written law to take effect through Parliament. The Constitution establishes all those offices that we go out to vote for. It equally establishes the body that conducts the election, which is the Independent Electoral Body Review Commission. And it also creates the political parties fund. Before the introduction of the political parties fund, parties used to conduct their nominations and their primaries individually. But with the new constitution, there is a Political Parties Act, which provides that there is going to be a registrar of political parties, who is the custodian for purpose of registering a political party and ensuring that each party has got members who are registered within that political party, and you cannot cross-cut. If you cross-cut from one party to another, then it becomes an electoral offense. That act, the Political Parties Act, also creates the Political Parties Fund, which fund is from the national kitty. It goes to ones running the nominations of a particular political party through to giving those names to the IEBC for purpose of an election. Before the primary, after the primaries, then we kick into the Election Act. That's now when the election is fully within the hands and control of the IEBC, which now becomes the parent act to conduct or to ensure that the process of election runs smoothly. The Election Act provides for the particular period of days that a nomination should be conducted. For example, in this coming election, we expect to see nominations being conducted by the 9th of April. By the 9th of April of this year, we need to have conducted our nominations. Equally, we'll need to have conducted, or the political parties that are running in the election, they ought to have merged and formed coalitions for purposes of having the election in August 9th. After the election, we kick in with the Election Offences Act and the regulations that govern election petitions. So in respect to elections, there are myriad litany of laws that govern that process.
Kidogo ningependa turudi tu nyuma, where you've talked about the election offenses. So maybe you can just tell us a number of the offenses, because I know there are a lot of them, a good number of them.
Yes. And
maybe you just explain just a little bit.
The most common offense, electoral offense in our democracy is voter bribery. That goes without saying. Where we have candidates conducting an election or running for an election, you find that they are bribing the voters for purposes of voting themselves in. That is an electoral offense. For it to be adjudicated as such or pronounced as an offense, you need to prove that there was an electoral offense by bringing witnesses, including images of the candidate bribing voters. That is one of the offenses. The other offense is currently you cannot, as a person who is going to be running for an election, you cannot attend a fundraising. We have seen in the past aspirants attending church fundraising, harambees everywhere in values, but currently they are barred because the law says you cannot go for a fundraising 8 months to the election, and we are already 8 months to the election.
So they cannot do
They
that.
cannot go for fundraising and committees.
Yeah, on matters bribery, what is the penalty?
The penalty comes in at the point of an election petition, because normally what happens is that once an aspirant has been elected and there is an allegation that that election was marred with a lot of bribery, what follows is that a person who has participated in that election, or a Kenyan, can move to the High Court to challenge that election. At the point of challenging that election, the court has so many things that the court can do.
Yeah.
One, it can cancel the election of that person who has already won the election. Two, it can also give a fine sentence to the member of parliament or MCA who has lost the elections. And the court can also order that a criminal investigation do take place in respect to the bribery aspect, because bribery is not only an election offense, but it is equally a criminal offense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And going back to the nominations,
Yes.
is the IEBC participating actively in the nominations?
At the party primaries?
Yes.
Oh yes, it is nominating.
All right.
When we passed the constitution, the 2010 constitution, Article 91, it creates a political parties fund. And when it comes to the Election Act and the Political Parties Act, it also gives the particular elements and parameters on how those political parties are going to conduct their nominations.
Okay.
And one of the most amazing things to see in these laws is that the political parties kitty is funded from the national coffers, Kenya, mimi na wewe. And when we fund the party primaries, it means the law also says the IEBC may, upon request by the particular political party, conduct that nomination. And obviously, you will agree with me that because political parties don't want to spend their money, they shall conduct the nomination for the political parties. And it happened in 2017.
Very interesting. Okay, when we go back to, we've done the nominations and now we're going to the main election process. Now, we find that there are normally representatives from every party. How are they, how can we say, limited to sticking to their lane? Because you find that many a times they are interfering in the election process.
You mean
the party's representatives during the election process?
Well, if I get your question correctly, that the election process from nomination is now handed over to the IEBC.
Exactly.
The IEBC is to oversee the whole electoral process. That does not preclude that a political party will not be represented in the election process. Each party has a right to nominate an agent in each polling station. This agent carries the mandate and the right to oversee the votes for that political party. For example, in a polling station like Moi Primary, and all parties are represented, we expect an agent for UDA, we expect an agent for Jubilee, an agent for ODM, for purposes of ensuring and securing that the votes for that particular political party are not in any way lost or stolen.
True.
Yes.
So, Wakili, we've been talking about the IEBC. Who appoints them?
The IEBC is appointed by the president, and the president appoints them after a vigorous process has been conducted, and this process is conducted through vetting process. The vetting process is first conducted by a committee that is appointed again by the president, but with approval of the National Assembly.
So the president is the one who can also remove them there, or there is another process?
The removal process is another difficult process. Remember, a commissioner of an independent body or a commission is a constitutional office holder. This person, once appointed, can only be removed for grounds which amount to gross violation of the Constitution or any written law or any professional misconduct. And this is a process that is initiated by any Kenyan or any citizen through the National Assembly. So a citizen presents a petition to the National Assembly. This petition is a petition alluding or alleging the gross misconduct on the part of the commissioner. The petition, once presented to the Assembly, is approved through the departmental committees in the National Assembly, and that report is forwarded to the President. The President appoints another committee that now seeks to investigate whether those allegations are correct. The moment the committee now finds that that allegation has been approved or has been supported, then a report is given back to the President for purposes of now initiating the removal process. And at that point now, the commissioner ceases to hold office. Yes.
And who runs the day-to-day management of the IEBC?
The Secretariat. The Secretariat runs the day-to-day management of the IEBC.
Okay.
Yes.
And who chairs the Secretariat?
Currently, after the removal of the then Chiloba, I don't really remember who is.
I think at this moment it's without any person.
I don't think that position has been filled,
Yeah.
correct?
Now, for now, I would love us to take a short break, and from there we will come back with more.
Welcome back. Just before the break, we were asking our special guests on the appointment and removal of commissioners. Now we are going back to election process, and how do we deal with the many staff in the IEBC? Who goes about managing the whole process in the ground?
That's now in respect to the election.
Yes.
What happens is that within or before the lapse of 120 days, the IEBC will receive a list of candidates from each party that is running for which position. After that is now when the IEBC prepares for the elections proper.
Okay.
Of course, right now after the registration of voters, what is happening is voter verification.
Yeah.
Voter verification is the removal of persons who have since died.
Yeah.
Persons who have registered twice, and persons who are registered in more than 2 or 3 polling stations. Also, there is also the registration of people in diaspora that still taking place, that has not been closed. And then now, when it comes to the elections, that is the list that the IEBC, the verified list, that's the list that the IEBC will use when it comes to the day of the elections. And the other thing is that there was also a proposal to amend the law in terms of having a popular name for a candidate. Popular name means not the names that you are known by.
Your official names.
Your official names. For example, we used to know Waitito as
Ferdinand
Waitito, but he's also known as Babayao. Yeah? But he has since now acquired Babayao as his official name. But if he had not, there was a proposal to have that name Babayao provided for or appearing on the nomination papers and the election papers, so that come the election day, a voter will not have difficulties identifying the candidate he's voting for.
So at the beginning you told us that the voting registration imefungwa kwa sasa.
Yes.
So those who have registered, what are their rights?
Their rights is to ensure that you wake up on the 9th of August and cast your vote. To ensure that you cast your vote, so that even at the time comes, we will not have a low voter turnout. And low voter turnout, it means that now as a country we are represented by a person who has been elected by the smallest number of people. So it's important that people come out to vote.
If, for example, there is someone who's disabled or bedridden, are there measures that the IEBC has taken to ensure that they cast their vote?
Yes, yes, and the IEBC has always provided a stream in the polling stations, because in the polling stations there are many streams in terms of queues where people are going to vote. So there is always one that is identified for persons who are not able to stand on their feet, expectant women, the old and the elderly, so that they can cast their vote fast and leave the station.
Now, what is the essence of voting a secret ballot? What is the essence of all that?
It's a secret ballot because we don't want to preempt, number one. Secondly, when you have the Mlolongo voting like it happened in 1988, you remember history bears us right that the smaller queues were the winning candidates.
Yeah.
So secret ballot is to ensure that when you are voting or when you're casting your vote, you are casting it from a point of information. You're casting it not being influenced by the surrounding, and you're casting it with the confidence that the candidate you're voting is the right person to carry on the manifesto of a particular region.
Talking about coalitions, and now we have the Azimio and the like.
Yes.
Kindly tell us or explain to us what is the position regarding coalitions?
Now, that's another realm which is governed under the Political Parties Act. Previously, what used to happen is that a party used to close the party is either closes its doors and joins another party, or two parties they deregister and form a new coalition, or a party and another party they form a coalition agreement and deposit with the registrar of political parties within 160 days before the elections. Actually, it's 6 months, 6 months before the elections. Currently, the recent amendment, which was hotly contested, it is quite interesting because what it has done, it has created a provision for a party to be a member of another political party.
Wow.
So that necessarily means we don't need to have so many coalitions. For example, Jubilee can be a member of ODM and sustain its own original character as Jubilee.
Wow.
But in the end of the day, it's supporting the ODM candidate. Equally, UDA can be a member of a political party or another party becoming a member of UDA. That ensures that the political party does not lose its character. It retains its original form. It can field candidates in particular regions and support another candidate in another region for another political party.
So that means those small others that are joining the coalition, for example, the UDA, they cannot choose a president of their own.
Once you join a political party as a political party joining another political party as a member, then it means you're already forming a coalition. And that coalition, you are out to support a particular candidate for presidency. So that means now you'll not be fielding your own political candidate at the highest level president. Yeah.
Okay, when you're talking about such a situation, can we put it in a situation like a company whereby, for example, UDA will have one share, just like a normal individual, or what voting right does it have?
Now, we may not bring it to that realm because the political capital is different in terms of what are you gaining, what are you looking at gaining as a party, and what ideologies are you looking out to have or to push forward. The advantage is that it gives that party a pedestal on the platform of the negotiation table. You've seen in the past that the current governor of Meru, when he was asked to shut the door of the bus, you remember?
Yeah.
Now that means he has no negotiation platform when it comes to sharing of power and portfolios. But the moment now a political party becomes a member of another political party and is not being dissolved, it gives you a pedestal to negotiate from. That is why you've seen a lot of acrimony from some quarters in regard to UDA. UDA has welcomed Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and Honorable Wetangula, but it's also shutting doors for coalitions from other regions. It's bringing a lot of acrimony because you're not giving people from a particular region a pedestal or a negotiation platform in terms of resource allocation and parliamentary lobbying. Because political parties, majorly after elections, they become a powerful tool in parliament in terms of lobbying for particular laws, lobbying for policies of government. Yes.
Now, Wakili, I want us to go back in the days, not in 2017, while we were choosing a president.
Yes.
You remember, even the viewer can attest to that.
Yes.
Tulikuwa na marudio ya kura. We chose a president, but then we went back to the ballot.
Yes.
So this time round, we are at the election period. And as you know, or as you've heard, the politicians have spoken and they've said, hakutakuwa na marudio ya kura, like a good number of them. Some of them, they are saying, there is no enough money to do that, and what have you. But you get to understand, kumekuwa na shida sana hapa nchini about elections. So what is the main, what is that thing that usually makes us go back to the ballot, like maybe to choose a president?
It's simply when the president-elect does not meet the bare minimum to become a president-elect. The bare minimum to become a president-elect is that you must garner at least 51% of the votes cast. You must equally have a minimum of 24, you must win in a minimum of 24 counties out of the 47 counties. So in the event that there is no presidential candidate who garners those two, then it means we are going to have a real runoff for purposes of ascertaining who is the preferred candidate to govern the country.
So if we have a run-up again, wale wote wenye walikuwa pale kwa ballot paper ndo watakuwa pale, ama we will have two specific people?
It's only the two leading candidates who go for election in the runoff. Only the two leading.
So what happens when one of them decides to quit?
We saw this in 2017 when Honorable Raila Odinga quit the elections, but we still went ahead to conduct the election. Because that's what the law says. We cannot short-circuit the law. When the law says that we have to have a runoff and there's no candidate who has qualified and you pull out, we still have to go for a runoff because that's the law. You have to follow it to the letter.
Okay. Talking about the election process and the judicial process regarding elections, the other day the CJ said that the judiciary is ready to take up election matters.
Yes.
Does the judiciary have maybe a time frame within which to deal with the election matters?
Oh yes, extremely. You remember, I think it's the 2013 election where the presidency election petition, Honorable Raila Odinga was barred from filing an affidavit.
Yes.
And he was banned because the constitution sets the limit, the number of days, that once elections are declared today, the election petition must be filed within 7 days.
Yes.
Once filed within 7 days, it must be heard and concluded within 14 days. That's a constitutional provision. We cannot change that.
Yes.
Unless we conduct a referendum to change that. Equally, in other elective positions, the law provides that the election petitions must be concluded within 6 months. Why was this brought, or why was this brought as a law? It was brought along because history is very important to us as a country.
Yes.
When President Moi and President Kibaki were competing in 1997, an election petition was filed as against the then President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi.
Yeah.
But it was filed at the Court of Appeal, served. It was very difficult to find Moi because you had to serve him physically. And the election petition was heard for a full 5 years. The term lapses even before the petition is heard. So this had to be legislated to ensure that people are represented by the candidates that they chose. People have to be represented by a candidate who wins the elections fairly and squarely. So within 6 months after presentation of an election petition, the law says it must be heard and determined and a judgment delivered. That's why you will even see this year, after the elections, the courts will be so busy with matters election, and they'll have to put other matters aside to deal with the elections. Yes.
Interesting.
Now, Wakili, just maybe the last question, because our time is really... what can you say about the IEBC, keeping in mind there have been issues here and there? As a person who deals with the Constitution and everything, what can you say about our IEBC?
I believe one of the things that we must cultivate as Kenyans is having trust and confidence in our institutions. And that begins from the lowest level to the highest level. There might be some imperfections about the IEBC. There might have been late in terms of recruiting the other commissioners, but we must believe in the institution because that's the institution that is going to deliver the elections to us. And if the election becomes contested, just because we didn't believe in the body, then it will be a wrong premises for us to live in as a country, and it will be a recipe for violence. So I believe the IEBC is well equipped, well prepared, and it's ready to conduct the elections.
So in other words, we are ready to hold an election.
We are ready to hold the elections, correct.
As a parting shot, you being an election expert, dealt with matters with the constitutional and all that. What can you tell the viewer to encourage them to come out on the 9th of August? 9th of August?
9th of August.
Right.
My appeal to viewers, this country was bequeathed to us by our forefathers. This country belongs to us through our parents. This country is ours today, and tomorrow we shall leave this country. It's important that every person we comes out to vote so that we ensure the country that we are bequeathing to our children is a better country than we received from our forefathers. Prepare yourselves. As the Prime Minister says, bunduki ni ID, na risasi ni voters card. So let's prepare ourselves for 9th of August to cast our votes.
Now, my awesome viewers, I have my voter's card. I don't know. Do you?
I think I do.
Yes.
I'm sure where it is.
We've come to an end of our show. My name is Purity Nabukaki.
And mine is Beatrice Mohende. Thank you.